Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and in today's video, I thought we would do a little sketchbook tour. And by little, I mean quite small. So back in, I think 2022, I actually did a sketchbook tour of all of my tiny sketchbooks to date, and this one was included at that time, but I wasn't done with it yet. So we'll pick up where we left off back in 2022, and I will link below or above somewhere the original sketchbook tour if you'd like to see it. But for these little sketchbooks, I like to focus on animals, and most of them to date had been birds. So this one was all birds still, and this time I decided to do something that included no birds, so all random animals. Now, this sketchbook uses Bockingford watercolor paper. It is just cellulose paper, and yeah, it's really fun to paint on for these small ones, and it actually dries pretty quickly, so it's really easy to use. This is the, I'm drawing a blank, hopefully I'll remember, Paul Rubens, and it's a glittery cotton-based paper, and because of that, it does take a lot longer to dry. So being that I've been doing these basically as a painting a day challenge, I definitely had a few more issues with the drying time there. But in this case, this is where I left off. So this was Birdtober 2022. And then I kind of stopped and did not go back to the sketchbook until 2024. In the beginning of last year, I was doing a sketchbook a day challenge where I started off with Baldur's Gate characters. And when I finished that, I decided to finish the sketchbook finally. So I think most of these I did in 1 or 2 days. Most of these were one day as well. Some of them were I'd start one day and finish the next if I was really busy. But yeah, let's go through these. So zoom in a little bit more. All of this was done with basically whatever random watercolor I had hanging around, plus white gel pen or gouache. In the next one I do use a little bit of ink as well. So we start with a crested tit. I think most of these were recommendations, request. This was a northern parula, I believe. I am probably going to butcher pronunciation of a lot of these animals, so I apologize for that. And then this one is a yellow rumped warbler, I believe. So a bunch of tiny little birds for a tiny little sketchbook. And then we have a flamingo. I remember this one being a lot of fun to do. And this is a house finch. Now, I don't remember exactly why I did the speech bubble, but it did make me laugh when I opened this up earlier because I did not remember that. Nice little surprise. And then this one's a double-crested cormorant. I have no idea how that's pronounced. I have them locally. I never actually heard it. And then by the time I got here, this was a great horned owl. I had actually seen one the night before, so that's why it got included. I guess at this point I stopped taking suggestions. And this is the purple gallinule, which I do believe is a Florida bird. I haven't seen them in person, but I love their big feet. And they're very colorful. I hope to see one day. And then we finish with an American crow, because I have to finish with a crow. Unfortunately, it's not so good, but that's okay. So that is that sketchbook. Moving into the newest one, I actually did start this one on this channel. So when I first started the sketchbook, sometime in 2024, I decided to use these little tiny brushes with this little tiny sketchbook. So these are I think it should say on it, Map Graves brushes with Trekell, and they're really tiny. I had found these when I was decluttering, and that's what drove me to start this sketchbook and use those brushes. I did a few pages in here. I put the sketchbook away for quite some time, and I completely forgot about those brushes until I actually decided to film the sketchbook tour. So unfortunately, I kind of went back to normal brushes when those would have been a much better option. I don't think I said this, but both of these sketchbooks are made by Spofgh, and I love this little sparkle paper she included to go with the Paul Rubens sparkle watercolor paper. I don't know if you can see that. I think it'll be more obvious later. But anyway, we start with a quokka and then a fennec fox. And both the quokka and the fennec fox were in the video where I started the sketchbook. At that time, I'd wanted to do a capybara, but didn't have time. So he did get the next page, but missed the video. And then I did this harbor seal. And at this point, I put the sketchbook away. And when everybody was talking about doing their sketch a day challenge for 2025, I pulled this out and started with this, is it a four-toed sengi on January 1st. So this is basically what I've been working on this year so far. Oh. Already can't turn the pages. So from there, I think starting with this one, most of these have been recommendations. I took a lot of requests. So we started with a sugar glider. Oh, actually we started with this guy, but then we went to a sugar glider. He looks a little creepy. I don't think I did it justice at all. And then I don't know if this is a jerboa or herboa. I just don't know how to pronounce it, but I wasn't too familiar with these and they are so cute. And then I'd wanted to do a fish. I think when I first did started the sketchbook on YouTube, someone had recommended fish. So I chose a betta fish. I thought they're very colorful and I thought it'd be simpler. It really wasn't simpler for this size. But in this case, because I was having trouble working quickly with the cotton paper drying slower, this is where I first started to throw in a little ink. So that comes back into play from time to time, a little fine liner to help define edges. And then this is a dyeing poison dart frog, dyeing as in like dyeing fabrics. I like that suggestion because there's so many poison dart frogs, and they're all so colorful. And then we have an okapi and a dik-dik, two animals that I think are fascinating that I've never painted before. And then I knew someone was going to try to be clever and go with a giraffe because the little tiny sketchbook, and I also tried to be clever and make it sitting down, but it still didn't quite fit on the page. Its eyes are a little wonky because it's right in the crease and it's very textured, but I did the best I could. I really like how that one came out, despite the little wonky eyes. And then we have a river otter. So I think this is my favorite spread in this one because, I don't know, they both make me so happy. And then we have a piebald deer. Apparently a lot of animals can come in piebald colors, and I had not seen a deer with those markings. So that was exciting, learned a new thing. And then a little simpler seahorse. So this one, someone had recommended a badger, and when I looked up badgers, I found a blog post. I'll try to link to it below if I could find it again, about a rescue badger. So that's why it has an IV, and it just looks so sweet, and they were able to restore it to perfect health and release it, so it was a positive story. And then we have a golden blind mole, and the longer I stared at it, the cuter it was. I really enjoyed the really pushing the warm versus the cool values for the golden mole. And then this was an interesting recommendation, a horseshoe crab. And I remember seeing a lot of horseshoe crabs as a kid. Fortunately, their population has declined a lot because their blood is used for like medical testing, or I forget exactly how it's used, but hopefully their numbers get restored because they're fascinating little animals. And then you turn them over and they look like face huggers, so they're kind of terrifying at the same time. And then this was a kinkajou. It's another one where I had to default to some ink because I was running out of time and the paint was just drying slowly. And then we have a bat-eared fox. I had not heard of these before, and I love foxes, so I was really excited. And then we have an armadillo who came out a little cartoony, but still not as cartoony as Arthur's, so I'll give it a pass. I remember reading the Arthur books a lot as a kid. And then this is a poodoo, which I also had not heard of these. There's so many like little deer and antelope type of animals. They're just so cute. And then these are Honduran ghost bats, and they look like little cotton balls. delightful. And then this is a Southern Tamandua. Once again, probably butchering that. And the reference photo I found just had really beautiful lighting, really warm lighting. So I really enjoyed this guy. And then another animal I've never heard of, a sloth bear, which really does look like a big curly-haired bear with sloth claws. So I keep meaning, I haven't had time, but I'm going to go back and read into these guys a bit more. And then we had a request for a pygmy squirrel, which I decided to push the pygmy angle by painting it really tiny, and oh man, I regretted that with the face. It was so difficult, but I had a lot of fun painting the mossy rocks. And this wasn't a recommendation, but it was a mobile ray. I did want to do at least one ray because, while it's not easy to tell, this paper is, I think it was Mana Rays. But I wanted to do one ray to pay homage to that. And yeah, this one, kind of as a joke, we were getting some of our supplies in Justin Donaldson's Discord server for his upcoming gouache class, and he had recommended these, it's probably not going to fit on the camera, but Rosemary and Co. Red dot brushes. And I don't work with large brushes very often, so this thing seemed huge, and people were like, oh yeah, you have to use large brushes, just only do large brushes. So I decided to paint this ray that I'd sketched the night before with only this brush, and I cannot believe how well it worked. So there are some areas that came out a little fatter than I intended, but I mean, even that really fine line was all done with this giant brush. So I'm really impressed with that brush, and I look forward to using it more. But it was the only one in here I did with that brush. I love how they jump out of the water like that. They're just flying pancakes. And when I looked up the pygmy squirrels, I kept getting photos of pygmy dormice, which were so cute with their big fluffy tails, so I did a pair of them. And then the next day I had to go to the pet store to pick up something, and I was by myself and can't be trusted, so I spent too much time staring at the animals. This is not a very good drawing of a chameleon. We were a little busy with other things, but I wanted to try my hand at drawing the chameleon that I saw. And then this is an albino corn snake, which was also at the pet store. Corn snakes are very common in Florida. A lot of people find them and keep them as a pet, so it seems a little weird to see them at the pet store, but the one there was so tiny and so adorable. And then talking about native Florida animals and pets, I thought of the Florida soft-shell turtle. We had one as a kid, my brother did, and his name was Franklin, once again, after a book character. So, got a little Franklin in here. I don't think our turtle was quite this dark, but he was cute. And then I finished with Juno. Since I started with a pet, I had to do my current pet. And yeah, definitely regretted the size of her face there. But I wanted to draw her in her staring down at me pose. Her belly does look a little red in this because she has not gotten all her fur back since she was shaved for her ultrasound. So I think she's permanently a little red bellied. So yeah, it's my poor girl, but she's doing well. So that is it. That's my 2 little tiny sketchbooks, and I don't have any more of these right now, so I will have to finish up some of my large sketchbooks, of which I have many in progress. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little tiny sketchbook tour, and hopefully within 2 weeks I'll be able to get back to painting. For videos, I've just been really busy, been out of town a lot, so these have been enough stress trying to find time for these without actually setting up and doing a filming session. But hopefully things are easier soon and I'll have more time. So until then, I guess I will see you in a future video. Take care. Bye.